With the arrival of spring comes an influx of baby animals of all shapes and sizes to the Alberta Institute for Wildlife Conservation. And one of the most common patients that we see are orphan baby songbirds. Born completely helpless and blind, these baby birds are some of the most demanding patients we see at the hospital and are completely reliant on their caregivers throughout their time with us. Many of Alberta's familiar backyard bird species are songbirds, including chickadees, robins, and even ravens. While they're often characterized by their beautiful, or at least unique, vocalizations, these birds all have one thing in common. They grow in the same way. Songbirds hatch from their eggs blind, featherless, and completely reliant on their parents for feeding and warmth. They also grow very quickly, and some species of songbirds, such as robins, are capable of leaving the nest by the time they're only 2 weeks old. This period of intense parenting means that baby songbirds are some of the most demanding patients we care for at our clinic. Baby songbirds often come into care because their nests have been disturbed or because something has happened to their parents and they have become orphaned. Extreme weather, predator attacks, and disease outbreaks are all natural causes of orphaning. However, most baby songbirds are actually orphaned due to human-related causes. Window strikes, vehicle collisions, and pesticides are all human-caused reasons why birds may become orphaned. But the biggest danger to our songbird populations are free-roaming cats. A 2013 report from Environment Canada estimates that over 100 million birds in Canada each year alone are killed by free-roaming cats. Without their parents, baby songbirds have very little chance of surviving on their own, which is where wildlife rehabilitation centers like us come in. Our clinic has a variety of specialized facilities dedicated to caring for these baby birds at each and every stage of their growth.
So with hatchlings, that's from the minute they hatch till they're like a few days old. Ones are born naked, so they do require extensive parental care. They have their eyes closed, so they're actually a lot harder to get them to eat. For any of us, ones when they come in as a hatchling, they typically need a nest, the proper size for them, and then we also have to house them in an incubator, and they're typically fed every 10 to 20 minutes on a 14-hour day, so they're a lot of work. Moving into nestlings, that's when they start to get some feather growth coming in. So we can still have them in an incubator, but we can normally reduce the temperature, and then we can normally extend out their feeds up to like 20 to 30 minute feeds. And then once their feathers start erupting from the shaft and they start to get their primaries starting to come in, then they can kind of transition to a fledgling. And then those patients, we can start feeding them between 30 up to 60 minutes, and then we can normally take them out of an incubator and start slowly progressing them as they start perching, start coming out of the nest, and they start flapping, and eventually end up becoming flighted. So once our patients fledge, they're starting to fly around, they're starting to look at eating natural foods and everything like that, then we can typically move them outside. So once they're fully self-feeding and flying around, that's what's considered our juvenile. We don't have to hand feed them anymore, which is very nice for our staff members. And then those patients will normally keep outside for a few weeks until their flight stamina is up, and then they're typically ready for release. So we do collect natural branches and different pieces like that so they can kind of hide and feel secure. We oftentimes will give them small dirt dishes and sprinkle their seeds or put mealworms in those. We will also provide them with mirrors if they are a flocking species as well and they are alone. It typically just helps them to eat. So imprinting is when a species no longer identifies as their own species. It typically means that they imprint on a person, so normally their caregiver. This typically happens a lot with jays, where they'll imprint on a person and then they actually think that they are a person. What we do to try to avoid any of those situations is we do wear masks. We do have some crow and raven masks that we put on just so that they're not seeing a human when they're seeing it, or we try to completely cover our faces or anything else that identifies us as human.
As we've already mentioned, baby songbirds grow incredibly quickly, meaning some of them are released back into the wild within weeks of their arrival.
Typically, our baby birds are in care for a very short period of time, especially in comparison to species like our mammals. When they're ready to go, they've been in an outdoor flight pen for 1 to 2 weeks. They have to be fully flighted, able to properly evade us, so we shouldn't be able to easily go in and capture them. Typically, I have to take 2 people in with nets to grab them. They have to have good stamina. They have to be in really good body condition. They have to be fully self-feeding and typically showing natural foraging behaviors for that species, so we can just make sure that they're able to fully sustain themselves out in the wild.
While AIWC and other wildlife rehabilitation centers do exist to help injured and orphaned baby songbirds, There are steps that everyday people can also take to help make sure these birds do not need to come into a clinic in the first place. Windows are a risk to adult and fledgling birds alike, and many orphan birds are orphaned because their parents have flown into windows in confusion. Window collision tape can help alleviate these problems. If you're interested and you're living in Canada, you can actually purchase some of the specialized window collision tape on our website. Check the link in the description. As we mentioned earlier, free-roaming cats are the greatest threat to songbirds here in Canada. By keeping your cat indoors at all times, on a leash when they're outside, or nestled in a cozy catio, you can help reduce the conflicts we see between our backyard birds and our pet cats. Simply knowing what to do when you find a baby bird can also be a huge help, and we've designed a special flowchart for exactly this purpose. Check the link in the description if you want to see it. Finally, if you are ever confused or unsure about what to do with a baby bird that you found, call your local wildlife rehabilitation center. If you're here in Alberta, you can reach AIWC at 403-946-2361. If you'd like to help us care for baby songbirds and other animals this summer, please consider donating to our wildlife baby shower. We're hoping to raise $25,000 by May 31st, 2024 to make sure that we have everything we need for the influx of wildlife babies we'll be caring for this year. Check out, again, the link in the description to donate. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Alberta Wildlife Insider. See you next time.